is going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Daily Energy Newsbeat Stand-Up here on this gorgeous Thursday, August 10th, 2023. As always, I'm your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, coming to you from an undisclosed location here in Dallas, Texas, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, and the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, www.energynewsbeat.com, Stuart Turley. My man, how we doing today?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Man, I was in Fort Worth today. You got to love it.
You were driving all over the place today, surviving that excessive heat warning that seems to be a staple on my phone now. So we hope everybody is staying cool right now. But we have an absolutely fire show lined up for you guys today. First up on the menu, Grand Canyon Monument won't end fight over uranium mining. Ooh, dun, dun, dun. Something that's near and dear to our heart. Uranium mining, that's a joke. But Stu will cover what's going on in the Grand Canyon. Next up, Greek ship owners control 21% of global tonnage and 100% of all tzatziki sauce. I added the last part, but Greek owning about 21% of global tonnage for LNG specific or shipping tonnage. Stu will dive in to what that means for the U.S. or for the global energy market at large. Next up, Russia anticipates 11 billion energy revenue boost despite embargoes. In the words of Stu, sanctions don't work. And finally, we'll end with two opinion articles. First up, Rex Murphy, Trudeau Carbon tax is nothing more than a senseless money grab. Completely agree with him there. Then next up, our favorite random guy on Substack, David BLACKMON. Is the green energy transition falling off the rails? We'll see what David has to say. Stu will kick it over to me. We'll cover a pretty great day in oil. We topped over $84 for the first time, really, I think, in 2023. So great news to see on the oil and gas front. We did see natural gas spike all the way up to $2.96. Do I hear the bull market coming, baby? It's perfect. I got, Goldman Sachs is on the line with me, Stu. They've got me lined up for their nat gas interview. In bullish interviews, but we will then quickly cover EIA. We did see a little bit of a build, but clearly didn't affect the oil markets much. And then an interesting proposal out of White Hawk Energy. Two of the a minerals company is trying to go to the people to force another minerals company to buy them in what they would consider a stock for stock transaction. We'll read the press release, and I think it's kind of interesting. And I want to do the same thing with us and Aramco, but we'll dive into all that and a bag of chips at the end, guys. But first, check us out, world's greatest website, www.energynewsbeat.com, the best place for all of your energy news. Dashboard.energynewsbeat.com, the best place for all of your data and energy news combo. Get it while you still can. Definitely go behind a paywall. Big shout out to Stu and the team for keeping up Energy Newsbeat. They do a great job. It's really, I'm telling you, it's the place to be for all of your energy news. You can hit the description below, questions@energynewsbeat.com. And again, that description below, if you're listening to this on podcast, going to tell you how to get in contact with the show and links to all of the articles, which are courtesy that world's greatest website. Kick us off, Stu. Are we starting with the Grand Canyon?
Yeah, let's start with the Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon Monument won't end fight over uranium mining. You can't buy a good Grand Canyon story. I rappelled into the Grand Canyon in college, had these mules running up and down the thing. It was, never mind. I'm regressing. Okay. If President Joe Biden creates a national monument around the Grand Canyon, that doesn't mean the long fight over potential uranium mining in the area will end. This beloved President Chowderhead, we could use that. He is traveling to Arizona, where he actually was interviewed by Michael, the Weather Channel. I am serious. Hard-hitting interview by the Weather Channel. Biden has faced increasing
I'm glad
pressure.
my grandma saw that interview then.
Ooh. Do what?
I'm glad my grandma saw that interview then.
Oh, my goodness.
Every grandma in America saw that interview.
In recent months, a coalition of bipartisan lawmakers and tribes, including the Hazapawa and Hopi, have pushed the administration to reach the 1.1 million acre, I don't even want to pronounce this, the Baja Nuevi Yucato Grand Canyon National Monument.
So let's stop. Walk me back here, Stu. So I assume the area around the Grand Canyon is rich in minerals. Is that basically what's happening here? And there's a new and so what? There's this new bill that's if you establish a national monument or a national park, you then can't necessarily drill that. Is that or mine it? Is that basically what's going on?
Mine. That is correct. And the open mine in there is uranium. Here he is. He's saying, yes, we want nuclear. And then, no, we're not going to mine. And the area that they're talking about, after being in the Grand Canyon, you can enjoy the beauty from the bottom looking up. It is spectacular. We need to guard that. I'm not saying that that is not something we got to guard, but where this proclamation in 1996 barred new mineral leases, mining claims, prospecting, or exploration activities, they're reaching way outside where they were already approved for mining. So what they're now doing is they're going, oh, we want these other 1 million acres over here. So it's unlikely that any existing claims would be valid. So they're going retro.
This highlights the unfortunate truth about the energy transition and specifically the move to renewables under the current, solar, wind, EV battery, all that is that we need minerals. People they don't want, it's the old adage with homes, not in my backyard.
NIMBYs are
everybody wants batteries. Everybody wants a Tesla until the mine's got to now come in your backyard. Well, I don't want the mine there where the uranium is. So this highlights an interesting conundrum that I don't think anyone really knows how to solve. And it's why up until now, we've been okay outsourcing that to other parts of the world, China, Africa, eventually to support the amount of, minerals that we're going to need. I happen to know a little bit about this subject. The amount of minerals that we're going to need we're going to have to come here home and get them at some point. We're not going to, and if China controlling 90% of the critical minerals market, if we, for the eventual war that our leaders tend to, want to get us in with, World War III or IV, whichever one we're going to get in with China, we know that's coming, when that happens, we're in trouble. So I think that's what this article, in my opinion, highlights specifically is, okay, well then, great. We're not going to get uranium from the Grand Canyon. Cool. I think we should keep the Grand Canyon as a national monument. You don't have to. I'll get on that train. I like the Grand Canyon. I'd never seen it with my own eyes. The problem is, you start doing this to every single place, you're going to run out of minerals. So where's the medium?
Here's the gotcha. And since I have been at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, many miles, rappelling in, love it. The problem is the United States gets 60% of its uranium from
China,
Russia.
Oh,
Guess who bought most of our uranium supplies? Russia. Guess who sold them to Russia? Bill and Hillary Clinton. I am not kidding. So when you sit back and take a look, we now have a place that you can actually have a uranium mine and it won't impact the Grand Canyon. How this plays into these next two articles is about Russia's control. You walked right into that one, didn't you?
I walked anything to get a Clinton initiative in there. You'll take. So what's next, Stu?
Okay, let's go to your favorite topic, the Dark Fleet. I almost want to get a Darth Vader. We're talking about the Dark Fleet. Greek ship owners control 21% of global tonnage. This has a lot to do with the Dark Fleet. There's 5,520 Greek merchant fleet having grown by 50% in the last 10 years. This is one of the main areas. More than 40% of the eco-friendly oil tankers and 16% of the LNG carriers being built today will be delivered to Greeks. The average age of the Greek is 10 years. Not people, but the fleet is average 10 years. That's huge. When you sit back and take a look, Greek shipping is the main facilitator of the transport of essential goods in terms of controlling 31.27% of the world's oil tanker fleet, 25% of the world bulk carriers, 22% of the LNG carriers, 15% of chemical and product tankers, and 11% of LPG carriers, and the 9% of the cargo. These guys are on the throat of energy. Think about that.
They really are. They obviously they have a location advantage being there in the Mediterranean. They're extreme, being a ports, basically every part of Greece is available via a port. So you have a lot of places to dock these things. They identified early on. I mean, this is something that goes back years now with the Greek economy. It's not necessarily
right.
And remember, when I was, coming up and really learning about what was going on in the world, all I remember was Greece was always going bankrupt. And what you realize now that I didn't realize then was part of the reason they were able to keep getting bailed out was because of their importance to the energy ecosystem. You don't realize that, at least me, when you first, Greece is going bankrupt, let them go bankrupt. Cool. Do you want oil? Because seriously, when you talk about, even though that they've, they said they've increased their fleet, you're still talking about 10 years ago, there was still 2,500 Greek vessels, which was still probably the same, 25% of the market. So,
right.
It's the last bastion that Greece really has besides, with Santorini. You got ships in Santorini. It's all you got.
But anyway, I thought it was pretty interesting because this is they're covering for the dark fleet, and I'm just, it's the way it is, and they're right in the middle of selling the old ships, new ships. They're a ship broker, if you would. All right, so let's go to the next one, Michael. Russia anticipates $11 billion energy boost despite embargoes. Embargoes only get, sanctions only get the consumers in the drive-through. Russia is expecting extra oil and gas revenues to reach 1 trillion rubles, or 11 billion, in the last 5 months of the year, despite sanctions. Wow. The finance minister hopes to put the fat revenues toward covering his budget deficit, which has bloomed thanks to the war. I'll tell you, we called it last year. You want to call whatever it is. I said, this is not going to hurt Putin. And so far, the ruble has weakened compared to the dollar, which means more rubles and the additional revenue for the government. The extra windfall from oil and gas revenue comes even as their gas revenues fell by 47%. Even though that they did. Now, Russia is going to be dropping their production by 3 million barrels. I got to figure out where that is coming into play and how it is in OPEC plus as they're going to be dropping that in. So 300,000 barrels, a day is what they're going to be dropping.
I was gonna say 3 million a day. That's a little much, but
no, 300,000. So that's not much, but it is significant.
Yeah. Guys, sanctions, they don't work. Sure.
Oh, there it is. It's in the bottom line.
Russia may have made more money if we didn't have sanctions, but oil stands at $85 right now, guys.
But you know what?
Sorry, sanctions don't work.
No. And you know what? If I was in Russia's shoes, I would say to the U.S. as well, too. when you weaponize the dollar, you get back at you. All right. All right. Let's go to the next one here.
These two opinion articles here. One of them's, we got first up, Rex Murphy, Trudeau carbon tax, nothing more than a senseless money grab.
I'll tell you, if this is him in the picture, he looks like either a Muppet, or it looks like Oscar, with glasses all cleaned up, out of. Anyway, in this opinion article, liberals don't even like to call it a tax. The phrase you hear is climate ministers and the Green Warrior Justin Trudeau says, putting a price on pollution. Michael, you can't tax carbon. All you're going to do is people that produce carbon are going to buy it and then pass the cost on to the consumers. It does not change anybody's behavior. They won't call the carbon tax what it is. They call it what it is not. You put another name on something only when you are or should be ashamed of it. Thought that was pretty cool. Liberals desperate to sell the senseless curb on growth and industry had to confect some moronic twist of logic and reality to justify it.
Yeah. Here's where I agree and disagree with our boy Rex here. I agree with him on the fact where he says, hey, they're masking this carbon tax in all of this other swanky terminology, which just call it a tax. Where I disagree with him is that if you actually look at the literature, something I've done, unfortunately, because I've been required to, unfortunately, it's not fun to read through papers that are, peer-reviewed articles talking about the difference between, what's more effective, carbon tax, different types of carbon markets. If you were to do a meta-analysis of all of those and lay out the pros and cons and lay out where it's worked, where it hasn't, that meta-analysis would show most likely the most effective way to handle lowering emissions is through carbon taxes. It's the reason why the API has come out and supports a carbon tax. The American Petroleum Institute. There's a reason why BP has come out.
You said carbon tax?
Carbon tax. Tax.
Right.
Because carbon markets can be gamed. And generally, they're going to be gamed for the big guy. You don't think ExxonMobil is going to spend a lot of money to figure out how to game the system so that they get all the permits? Come on, people. Come on. Wake up. Hello, McFly. Wake up. So you tax it. Now it's just a line item on your economics. And it makes the lower band of economic projects uneconomical. I mean, and this is where I get pushback from probably from you and hardcore people on the right. I think carbon tax is probably the only way to actually solve emissions from a true level. Now, I'm not saying $1,000 per metric ton, but somewhere in that $10 to $20 range, that's probably where it needs to be honest with you. And it's being inadvertently taxed already, considering what companies are having to do and report. But in Canada, it's different. Again, part of it is this new tax they're trying to apply is basically doubling down. They've had a carbon tax in British Columbia for 14 years. So again, I'm with Rex here. This new law is probably a money grab. What I think the more important, in my opinion, overarching fact about this is I'm actually probably more for carbon taxes than I am cap and trade, if only because it's just it's much more simpler to roll out, and I prefer simple over complex. I don't know what you think, Stu.
I think it's a money grab. Period.
In this situation, but let's step back for the real question. Carbon tax, carbon markets. What do you prefer?
Both are equally gameable. And I think that the only way that you're going to do this is through a true plan of not having any taxes associated with it, but rather doing the best that is meeting physics and fiscally. If you meet physics, fiscally, and ecologically, you will solve all that problem without any taxes. I'll take that
Put
to the
put
bank.
that on a t-shirt, folks. We're gonna leave
Think
it with
about
that.
it.
What was it? What can you say those three again? I need
If
that on
you
a
do
t-shirt.
fiscally,
Ecologically, I don't even know what that means, but I'm down.
ecologically, if you do it ecologically and you do the lowest cost impact or lowest impact to the environment, that's natural gas. That's nuclear. You know, and you take a look at those kind of things. So it's ecologically, fiscally. What was the other one?
I don't know.
It was
I'm
good.
asking
I'll have to
you.
go play the tape.
All right, let's get to our favorite random guy on Substack, David Blackmon. What's he got?
Oh man, I love me some David Blackmon. He is one cool cat. Is the green energy transition falling off the rails? And I think that there is. And Miss Producer, if you could fly in this video, we would greatly appreciate it. This is about a 1-minute video, so bear with us. For our podcast listeners, you're going to hear the Benny Hill song. And when you're done with it, so bear with us here. It's about 30 seconds to a minute. We'll just have it flying around for a second. So here we go. Okay. Now, Michael, how'd you like that trucker and everybody else dragging those people out of the UK? They were people trying to stop oil, just stop oil, and people were tired of it. So this is the UK. David Blackmon was talking about a worldwide kind of thing. And I think that video pretty much sums it up is people are getting tired of it. But David goes in and says, there's much hyped energy transition is starting to crumble at its foundation. They've seen the following. These are key. Ford Motor wants its investors to lose 4.5 billion in 2023. China has commissioned another 50 gigawatts of coal-fired plants. Brits have led by Prime Minister beginning to back away from aggressive transition timelines. They're getting all grumpy, and then people are getting all thrown around on this because they can't afford it. The Scottish government, forced to admit, had facilitated the felling of 16 million trees. You can't buy that one. We had a couple stories go 60,000 views a day on those things.
Yeah, that's the best article we've ever had on Energy Newsbeat, which was Scotland cuts down 16 million. I remember I was in Dallas moving here. It was a little over a year ago.
Right.
It was over a year ago. I remember sitting in the airport watching the stats just go off because we had 100,000 users reading about the Scottish government. So I think what this article does a really great job of, Stu, is summarizing how really in this last couple weeks, we've seen a huge shift to, what I would call smoke. When there's smoke, there's fire. You're starting to see drips and drabs of people coming out and saying, oh, renewables this, British government this, German coal act, mining for new coal, Scotland forced to admit, Japan government firing up coal again, all these little things. And you start piecing the tea leaves together for what could be an eventual swing towards what we've always said, natural gas, which is probably the transition fuel, until we get fusion ready.
Well, what we're seeing is there's about two or three things that are coming around the corner that people need to look out for. Um, a couple articles that I'll talk about tomorrow. U.S. is now looking at a recession by the end of this year, beginning of next year, and the global economy is also looking to roll into that recession period. And when people are starting to get worried about it, the number one reason is energy, poor management energy. When people start getting all grumped out and they start getting drugged around by these truckers in that video, it's absolutely a hoot. We're about to see more of that, Michael. And God bless David Blackmon. I love David. He has a way of articulating it. Everybody follow him on his Substack.
Yep.
That's about it for me. Thanks for letting me rant.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Packed show. Before I go ahead and dive into the oil and gas markets for the day, guys, we're pumped to announce a new sponsor, Reese Energy Consulting. This is somebody who we've worked with. We've worked with their team multiple times. We really love them. Reese Energy Consulting, they're your oil, natural gas, and NGL midstream partner. They do everything, guys. Midstream marketing, project management, anything around that game. They're the best. Steve Reese, the guy who runs that, absolute great guy. Stu, I know you're really close with Steve. We're pumped to have them on. As part of a sponsor, guys. So check them out, reeseenergyconsulting.com. You can look up Steve Reese on LinkedIn, one of the best LinkedIn follows. You can get, again, guys, that's reeseenergyconsulting.com. But I mean, great day, Stu, for the markets. I mean, we've got a 5 million barrel build in the crude oil reserves, or in the crude oil reserves, excluding SBR, which normally would be bearish. Yet we see a 2023 high up to 84.23. You know, if you Google, Reuters would tell you mainly what's coming out is we've got tightening fuel supplies, which is aka if we've got refinery tension, that begins to work its way backwards and eventually hits oil prices, considering people see what's coming down the pipeline. Also, OPEC Plus has come out and reaffirmed, and specifically the Saudi cabinet has signaled, hey, yes, September's ago, we might even see more, and this could be something we push all the way to the end of the year. Again, it's, you know, this is not a good term to think about when you know, this has been since debunked in the world of economics, but the idea of the Laffer curve, Stu, was the idea of how much revenue versus how many people are paying revenue in terms of how much taxes the government would get. And there was this economist, I think his name was Jim Laffer. He worked for the Reagan administration and basically came up with the concept of this curve, which showed if you lower taxes but increase the taxable base, you actually raise revenues. It's the same concept Saudi works with here. They can actually cut oil, see a rise in prices, and see a subsequent rise in their revenue, even while cutting back on oil and gas. So, you know, think of it as the Saudi curve, the Saudi Laffer curve, as we would like to call it.
Wow.
So
Well
fun,
done.
you know, I'll learn something a little bit new today. Laffer curve. Now, someone who's knows what they're talking about is listening to this like, well, that's been debunked multiple times. It has, but it works in this situation. So just play along with me there. Next up, I thought was interesting, Stu. You know, we've seen some earnings continue to roll out. Actually, before I get into that, natural gas was up to $2.96 again, off at insane future heat. You know, we're sitting here. It's 103 right now. The outlook is just going to continue to be hot. All those weather models continue to be bullish. You know, we might by the time show closed tomorrow, Stu, we might see $3 natural gas. Would be absolutely unbelievable, considering most of that stuff that's coming out of MidCon and East Texas is high MMBTU gas, which means we get a nice premium over MCF. So, you know, depending on where you at in the country, you begin to see this. So natural gas going through a little bullish streak. If you do see me move over and start working for Goldman Sachs, just understand once it tanks again, I will be back right here in the show. I thought it was this was really interesting, Stu. We saw today there was a few earnings that dropped. Nothing I thought that was, you know, we saw Crescent Point Crescent Point drop earnings. We saw, who else did we see today? Let me go back here, Stu. We saw a few, nothing interesting though. Enerplus announced results. Civitas, nothing to report. Crescent Energy, as I mentioned. Talos dropped, nothing interesting there. What I thought was interesting, though, Stu, was specifically, we talk about M&A deals and how they happen behind the scenes. Well, when an M&A doesn't happen around behind the scenes, you can go public. And that's exactly what's happened right now. Whitehawk Energy, a smaller mineral shop, is attempting to propose a combination with Phenix Minerals in a stock-for-stock transaction, and they're going public with it. So shout out IR Guy of the Week. What's his name? Jay Slaughterback, whitehawkenergy.com.
Nice.
It's the IR Guy of the Week, but basically what they're trying to say is they are attempting, and they've sent multiple letters to say, hey, we should combine. You'll hold 61% of the new pro forma company, and Whitehawk Minerals will receive a one-time 20 cents per cash dividend. Yeah, it's probably a cash grab for the Whitehawk guys. They probably are trying to finance college. It's kind of expensive now. You can't, sending your kids to Harvard, no scholarship ain't cheap. You might need to cash out for 20 cents on the dollar. I kid mostly. They announce, they basically say that this new pro forma company is going to have, about 850,000 gross units, save about 4 million of G&A per year. Yeah, cut salaries, baby. We call that layoffs, baby. Next, an increase of stockholder payout, which is, again, all of the Whitehawk Mineral guys, 50 to 60% of distributable cash, and will increase the dividend by over 100%. Okay, cash grab. Immediate accretion to Phenix distributable cash flow. Again, handout to the handout to management. Accelerated conversion to an increased weighting in mineral and royalty assets. Interesting there. A larger company with more liquid stock. Aha! Now we know. It all comes down to money. Liquids. They slipped that in the last one. Good IR Guy of the Week. What are you, Jay Slaughterback? Nice, my friend. You see what they're going for there. A larger company with more liquid stock. It's a cash grab, folks. It's a cash grab. Now, I'm all for it. If I was on the Whitehawk side, I'd do it. There's probably a reason they had to go public with this offer, because behind the scenes didn't work, because Phenix looks at this as like, well, it's just a cash grab.
Yeah, oops.
Look at the quote from Daniel Hertz, Whitehawk chairman and chief executive officer. While we have been disappointed with the engagement to date, just stop there. This isn't going to work. This is a Hail Mary at the 5-yard line. This probably won't work. And if it does, good for you. I doubt it, though. I thought this was funny before we let people go, Stu. It's all headed downhill. There's this great Jim Cramer meme where it's sell. Civitas today announced the appointment of Jeff Kelly as Chief Transformation Officer, retroactive to August 3rd, 2023. Oh, my goodness, Stu.
Did you say the chief trans? What?
I said Chief Transformation Officer.
Oh.
Because that's what they need. That's what Civitas need. They don't need to, Now, what he's really brought in to do is lead the integration of its recent acquisitions, the Permian Basin. He's going to be responsible for establishing a high-performance organization, inspiring innovation to improve effectiveness, and align stakeholders to help achieve this company's vision. I had to stop puking before I threw up. It's over. If I was giving you investment advice, and I don't give investment advice, I would sell. Sell. The words of Kramer. Sell. For no other reason that they have a chief transformation officer. It's just, what's that got to do with it? And guess where he used to work, Stu? He most recently
I've never heard of a chief
group. Sweet.
I've never heard of a chief transition officer or trans officer or whatever. I've never heard of
transformation. Chief transformation officer. We're going to transform us into a better version of ourselves, theoretically.
Right.
yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah, rots a rug.
Good luck with that. He's brought in so that when he's brought in, what's funny is Civitas at some point, they go buy all this Permian Basin acreage. Well, what does that mean for their Colorado stuff? Are they eventually attempting to exit Colorado? Are they looking to offload their Colorado and go all to the
I
Permian?
would. I would. Can you blame them? I
No.
would exit. I notice you're not in Colorado anymore.
Greatest state in the union? I mean, I'd love to be back
It
there.
was.
I'm literally in this chair. I'm sweating right now. I've got the AC on at 65. I'm
It
still
was
sweating
one
in
of
this
the.
chair.
It was till everybody moved from California.
I know. I'm part of it. I will tell you this, though. I did recently get a bonus. I'm very glad I'm in Texas. Tell you what, I'm very glad I'm in Texas. I'll tell you that much.
We love us some Texans.
I love it. I don't own property, so I don't get screwed on the back end. So yes, Civitas Chief Transformation Officer. Whew, yikes. You got anything else, Stu?
No, we got a lot coming around the corner. I think people are going to see more ESG waking up, supposedly more finance. People are tired of losing money.
Good.
And we're just going to be all over that news.
Yeah, we will be all over it, guys. We appreciate you checking us out. The world's greatest energy podcast. We got our weekly recap, which is now going to come on Saturday. So as you're listening to this tomorrow, you can hear our new revised schedule. We're going to start with start releasing Stu's long form podcast on Friday. So who you got this Friday? Who are you releasing on Friday?
Genevieve, and she is a very good let me pull it right up here.
I'm fascinated by it. Genevieve, and she's very good, guys. That's all you need to know on Friday.
Collins. She is the AFP Texas State Director, and it's a very, very good interview.
Alcohol, firearms, and tobacco, baby.
Absolutely. No, it's about getting America back on our feet again. It's really good.
So check it out, guys. World Greatest Podcast, Energy News Beat. We appreciate you guys checking us out. You'll hear us tomorrow. You'll hear Stu Friday. You'll hear the weekly recap on Saturday.
Weekly crap.
Hey, depending on what you think of our takes, it could be the weekly crap. And then you'll hear us back on Monday for the next week, guys. Appreciate you sticking with us so far. We will see you Monday.
Thank you.